My amplified unit, welcome to the coffee bar. Not even 24 hours removed from SummerSlam 2024. And now that we had a couple 2-3 hours to let it all sink in, I can say the same thing this morning that I said last night live to all of you. And that is simply, wow. Wow. I always talk about these wrestling shows, these wrestling events, doesn't matter to the company. Are they going to be memorable? When the show is over, the event has come and gone, are they going to be memorable? Are you going to remember these events a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, 2 decades from now? Are you going to remember anything from the show? Sadly, the answer to a lot of these events is no. Last night's SummerSlam 2024 was not one of them. I am going to remember most of what happened on this show last night, from 4 championship title changes, 2 massive turns, 1 epic return, and a Jellyroll. That is all you can ask for from a SummerSlam. As a reviewer, as a critic, absolutely, there are things I would have tweaked. I would have added more volume and amplification in some areas. I would have taken some things out, put some things in, no question. But when it was all said and done, Hunter Hearst Helmsley put together a card we are going to remember. We're going to talk about it, kind of like the aftermath of SummerSlam 2024, just a few hours removed from it. Again, it is very early on this Sunday morning. But this is for everybody that may not be able this weekend or going forward to watch a 4 to 5 hour live stream for the replay. Because that live stream, we were live last night, and that's probably not the smartest thing to do for this little ECW type channel on this platform to go head to head with the WWE, but I gotta tell you, we're about to hit 20,000 views for that live stream. No, we're not gonna back down to WWE. Or to the Tube, which is still upset with us because I did not take that thumbnail down 2 weeks ago of Liv Morgan's assets on that Monday Night Raw. So I kept it up. They didn't like that. But you guys showed up and showed out last night. And a major thank you. Because you guys made that fun. And for nearly 5 hours, we rocked that live stream. You guys thanked BC. I put it right back on you and thanked you guys. But for those that were not able to catch it live, it's up there. It's on the replay. But if you don't got the 4 to 5 hours, we're going to go through everything that happened in a much more abbreviated sense in this upload. But now that we got a couple 2-3 hours of sleep, right, for BC, about an hour, 41 minutes, exactly. Now that I let it sink in a little bit more, comprehended everything that happened, we're going to talk about it and maybe add some more insight to it. All of these matches. So if you were not able to catch that live stream and you're not able to going forward, we're going to touch base on all of these matches, on this event in totality. Why was it so memorable? Because believe me when I say I've been watching pro wrestling for decades. Whether you know it or not, maybe you didn't even like the show. Maybe you're one of those individuals just didn't do anything somehow. It just was like, But trust me when I say, you may not think it now. 10 years from now, 15, 20 years, you're going to remember most of what happened on this show. We'll start with the Jellyroll. Let's just start with some comedic relief, right? Jellyroll. Wow, I didn't know much about this dude. I don't know his music. Maybe I've heard a song or two of his. Didn't know it was a Jellyroll. But Jellyroll shows up last night. And he's a big fan of WWE, I guess. This is what they were saying last night. I'm like not a fair weather fan. He's like a big fan of WWE. And so Jellyroll shows up. He does some songs at the beginning of the night. But as some relief a chance to catch your breath, go to the bathroom, go to the concessions, get some popcorn, a hot dog, a beer or two, a coffee. For everybody to catch their breath before the main event, they had Jellyroll out there with Miz and R-Truth. And they had a segment with Waller and Theory. So you knew Miz and R-Truth was going to beat down the heels, Waller and Theory. But Jellyroll gets in the ring with a steel chair. Jellyroll, very generously at first. I don't know if it was Waller or Theory. Whoever caught it first, they should be thankful and grateful because they caught a little bit of jelly. The second individual got a much more heftier jelly. All right, that roll had some amplification. That chair shot did the deed, and you had Waller and Theory laid out. And then Jellyroll proceeds to drop a 5-knuckle shuffle. Jellyroll. If you've never seen Jellyroll, I mean, the setup alone got you. You were intrigued. You had to see how Jellyroll, a dude of that size, is gonna drop a 5-knuck shuff. Dude dropped it. Flawless. He needed some help getting up, obviously, but he dropped that flawless. I like Jellyroll. I became a fan of Jellyroll last night. I am a supporter of Jellyroll after last night, man. He reminds me of just a dude I grew up with. You know, I grew up with a lot of people that are just exactly like Jellyroll. You know, badass for sure, but with a heart of gold as well. CM Punk said it best in a recent interview. He said, I could give you the shirt off my back, or I could punch you in the face. It all depends on which side you want to bring out of me, right? So that's like a Jellyroll. Down for a good time, but he'll drop a 5-knuckle shuffle on you. I like Jellyroll. That was just, it was fun, man. A lot of times, guys, they bring these celebrities in, or they bring these athletes in, and they just don't do anything. What are you doing? In fact, it's the opposite of like fun or engaging or trying to get eyeballs to the product. It's the opposite. It's actually cringeworthy. It's straight cringe. And then you see Jellyroll and it just fits and it's fun. And this dude's ready to rock out. You can tell he's willing to do anything. Jellyroll. I mean, that's what we're starting out with. You know, it's got to be a pretty damn good show. We're starting off with Jellyroll dropping a 5-knuckle shuffle. Let's talk about the turns, right? Before we get to the title victories and the titles changing hands, because there was 4 of them last night, guys. I think it was 5 titles on the line, and 4 of them, or no, 6 titles, right? Because Liv kept hers and Cody, but 4 changed hands. We'll get to that. The turns. Start from the jump. First match of the night. Big turn. Dominic Mysterio aligns with Liv Morgan. Now, on the surface, you say, well, we all kind of knew that's where it was headed, right? That's all this was building toward that. And it makes a little bit more sense now why Ripley wasn't totally furious with Dominic when she got back. They wanted to wait for the actual big turn at SummerSlam. Now Rhea's going to be unleashed. So, looking forward to that. Of course, BC would have booked this different. I would have had Rhea absolutely furious upon her return. It would have made her return more amplified. But I also would have went Finn Balor aligning with Liv Morgan. I believe that would have fit better. But Hunter is the man in charge with the magic booking pen. So we're going to take the ride with Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And he's going Dominic and Liv. I'm along for the ride. You know, as long as you keep it amped up. And you keep the creativity juiced up, it could absolutely be a fun ride. Rhea Ripley's look in her eyes when Dominic smirked at her and made out like a couple of teenagers. Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio making out right in front of Rhea. So not only did Rhea not get her title back, but she's watching her dude make out with, I mean, this is straight up old school Jerry Springer. And turns back after the kiss, looks at Rhea. The look in Rhea did exceptional. Her selling, not just in the ring. Rhea was great selling that shoulder injury, but Rhea in selling those Oblivions, both Oblivions, and the one on the steel chair, which was one of the 2. Rhea Ripley was next level selling, but the selling in selling that heartbreak, you literally believe she's just got her heart torn out from her chest from Dominic Mysterio. And Liv ultimately did take it all, the championship and Dominic. So I just thought it was so well done. Would have went Balor for sure, but Balor had his own turn going later in the night. We'll talk about in a minute. But that was so well done. It should have been better in the fact that there should have been no confusion at all. A lot of people didn't know what Dominic was doing. First, he took the steel chair from Rhea, but that actually does help Rhea because she would have been disqualified. This was earlier in the match. She wanted to use a steel chair. Dominic's like, no, took it away. A lot of people were like, oh, he turned because we were waiting for it. And then it dawned on us, right? BC was live. I was like, wait, that actually just helped Rhea, so that's not a turn. You go later into the matchup, the finish, and there's a steel chair in the ring still, and Dominic just is distracting the ref, but you could easily say he was doing that for Rhea, right? And it ended up being Liv that ended up dropping Rhea on her dome piece on the steel chair with the Oblivion. So a lot of fans were like, was that a turn? I don't know. I mean, he was distracting, but maybe he was distracting for Rhea. It wasn't until he gave the smirk where people were like, okay, that was a turn. That's what I wish Hunter would do a little bit better on. Turns should be not just more emphatic, more amplified, but there should be zero confusion. They don't have to be as epic as back in the day when Shawn Michaels was turning on Marty Jannetty on the Barbershop talk show, Brutus the Barber Beefcake show. And Shawn Michaels is raising Marty's hand, and all of a sudden, snap of a finger, blink of an eye, drop of a hat, Marty gets dropped with a super kick, and then he gets sent through the barbershop window. It's one of the most iconic scenes, one of the most iconic segments, probably the most iconic heel turns in pro wrestling history. I'm not saying you got to go to that level, but make it more fun. Hunter Hearst Helmsley has this thing where they're very anticlimactic turns, right? Like everybody was expecting Otis several weeks ago. We were saying for months, when Otis finally turns on Gable, it's going to be the biggest pop. It's going to be one of the biggest moments on Raw, or if they do it at a PLE. And all he did, guys, when finally the moment came, Otis just shoves Gable a little bit and he walks off. Remember? We were all like, that was it? Is he going to come back to the ring? No, he kept going. Carried Maxine and they left, and that was it. Gable went and found a new little stable, new academy with the Creeds. They still kind of mesh up every now and again, but that was the turn, man. Otis just kind of shoved Gable a little bit. It was anticlimactic from what we were hoping for. With Dominic, there was some confusion there. I mean, you can guys go back, check it out, listen, watch the audience. BC was live. I was like, wait, so the distraction, Liv capitalized off of it. And it wasn't until the smirk where I was like, all right, that was a turn. And then, of course, the makeout. But we could have done that a lot better. If you're going to turn on Rhea, I mean, he could have literally handed Liv the chair or something more vivid. The same thing would happen with Balor later in the night. Let's get to that right now. But for the Dominic thing, for what it was, absolutely, I still enjoyed it thoroughly. I was intrigued by it. The smirk, the makeout, all of that, the look in Rhea's face. I was like, all right, that's a moment, that's a memory. That's how you kick off SummerSlam. And there would be a second massive turn last night. And that happened to be another Judgment Day member, Finn Balor. So this is during Damian Priest and Gunther's championship match. Finn Balor runs out there for no reason. Right there, you knew he was turning. Because why else would he be out there? And first, I think he even took maybe Gunther took him out. I don't know. This is what I mean. It was still confusing because Gunther was still kind of after Balor. So right there, you're thinking, all right, well, he already got taken out by Gunther. So he's going to be pissed at Gunther now, right? But no, then he comes up and he puts later in the match for the finish, he puts Gunther's foot on the rope. And everyone's like, oh, he just helped Gunther. And then he's got that just angry look, right? At Damian Priest. And sure enough, Priest is screwed out of it. And then Priest is looking at Balor, and Balor screwed Damian Priest. Judgment Day has imploded. Unless they're going to kind of splinter off like the NWO Black and White and NWO Red and Black. Do you guys remember that? That was bad. A lot of people don't even remember that. Toward the end of the NWO, they kind of splintered off. And you had the Red and Black and you had the Black and White. I don't know. So I mean, you could at this point have two separate Judgment Days, because if JD McDonald's goes over with Finn Balor, because they are tag team title holders, and they align with Dominic and Liv, well, that's a separate group. But you still have enough members over in the original Judgment Day. You still have Rhea, you still have Damian, and you would have, if you want to make him a full-fledged member now, Carlito. Maybe they could go that route if they choose to. And that would be the good guy faction. So that would actually make sense, guys. Because they want Damian to be more of the face anyway. Rhea was already becoming a face. And Carlito is just so funny, so you can't help but love the dude. See, man, I love doing these uploads. See, I start thinking about it, and I'm like, well, they could actually go this way. Maybe they're going that route, so we'll see. Actually, we won't have to wait long either. Tomorrow night, Monday Night Raw. But going back to that, I would have liked it to be more vivid, right? Amp it up. Don't just a foot on the rope. That was it. You didn't want to like clock Damian and be one of the big causes for Gunther to get that title. You could say, well, BC, maybe they wanted Gunther to just win it more clean. Dude had his foot on the rope by Balor, though. So either way, it's going to be tainted with an asterisk. You might as well go with some emphasis. It's just it's the big critique I will have for Hunter's turns, is there never really, there's no amplification behind it. No emphasis. And sometimes there's even confusion. But just, if you look at the two big turns last night, and they were big turns, Dominic just distracted the ref a little, and Balor just put Gunther's foot on the rope. That was it. There was not that emphatic turn, but thankfully the moment was still so massive for both. For Liv, Rhea, and Dominic, and absolutely for Balor and Priest. And what I mean by that, it was everything else was checked off. Every other box was checked off. I mean, Balor's expression afterwards was like, dude, I've been thinking about that ever since you literally said in a promo, I don't need any of them. They need me. You guys remember that? He told, I think it was a promo with Gunther. Or maybe it was the little feud he had with Seth Rollins. But he literally said, yeah, maybe it was the Rollins one. But he said, I don't need them. They need me. And Damian, for a few weeks there, was getting a big head. Now, Balor and Damian just work so well together. Their comedy is almost second to none. So I am going to miss that comedy, that kind of camaraderie between the two, but it should be a pretty fun and definitely intriguing feud going forward. Damian and Balor. We already had Damian and Seth. That should still be pretty good, but that's what I mean about everything else was done so perfectly. Balor's expression after Damian Priest. Guys, there was a moment, and this is just the reviewer in me. This is the critic in me, all right? I like to think this is what makes me really good at what I do. But it's the little things to many that are not so little to BC. They're actually massive. There was a moment where Damian Priest was able to escape Gunther's sleeper. It's really like a choke sleeper. But he's got it locked in. He's about to pass out. He's somehow able to escape. Somehow. He's got one last ditch effort. He knows. His emotions are now getting the best of him. There's no way he's going to beat Gunther right now. Gunther's about to take it to another level, like we always see Gunther do at the finish of a match. And Damian at this point is running on fumes A, and he is so heated at Balor. Livid, frustrated to a level that most can't even describe. Or you can't put into words. So he gets out of this hold. He has one last ditch effort. Right? It's like when you're running on E and you get that final burst of energy, or when a light bulb is about to die, but it becomes the brightest. He has that one last ditch effort, and who does he go for? It's not Gunther. Damian Priest lunges at Finn Balor on the outside, and the look on his face. Like when you do something wrong as a kid and your parent is coming for you. Damian Priest That look, he did not even care in that moment about Gunther, and that would be the deciding mistake in this match. At that point, I'm sure he didn't even care. Moments later, Gunther is literally passing this dude out. But he went out trying to get for Balor, not Gunther. And that's why I mean everything else. The actual turn itself could have and should have been way better, but everything else stemming into it, from it, and after it, near perfection. Near. Two big turns having to do with the Judgment Day. So the Judgment Day as we knew it going into SummerSlam, that is done, that is gone. We're going to see a whole new Judgment Day starting tomorrow night, Monday Night Raw, and it could be two separate Judgment Days. We could see that Splinter NWO type deal going, guys. So, okay, we talked Jellyroll. Finally, a celebrity or musician or athlete, or finally we got somebody from the outside the wrestling world that gave us a lot of fun. We talked about two big, major turns last night. Dominic joining with Liv, Balor turning his back on Damian Priest. What about the championship title changes? There was 4 of them last night. A United States Championship changed hands. An Intercontinental Championship changed hands. That Women's Championship that Bayley was carrying changed hands. And of course, we just touched up on it. Damian Priest's Championship changes hands. So we'll start with that since we already kind of went over it with the turn. But I'll give you my thoughts on this for sure. Damian Priest, I said this a million times, one of the best dudes you're going to meet in this business is going to be Damian Priest. If you ever have the privilege to, rub shoulders with some of these wrestlers, Damian Priest is just an authentically great dude. And that's why I think BC and so many want to see so many great things for him. As a reputable critic and a reputable reviewer, as I am, I will always be 1,000,000,000% plus truthful with you. It was too early to throw a briefcase on him and way too early to throw that championship on him. Just last night, that was his breakout match, man. That was the match that I believe put Damian on the map. And it's at the end of his title reign. That's what I mean. We should have built him up first. That briefcase should have went on LA Knight. LA Knight should have been winning a U.S. title last year, not this year. Beggars can't be choosers. We can't go back in time, to the best of my knowledge. This ain't Back to the Future. So here we are, right? They threw a briefcase on him prematurely. Then they threw a championship on him prematurely. And then when all these botches and mistakes and hiccups happen and he's got to take the heat for it, it's almost unfair at that point. But Hunter Hearst Helmsley loves this dude, as we all do. But Hunter really backs him, so he wanted to give him a lot too soon. And it ended up being a detriment. And it was nonstop, just overly critiquing those hiccups. And then it all came to a head last month at Money in the Bank with that kick out that never was. And that was the talk of the match. It was unjust. It was unfair. He never should have been put in that position. Build him up first, then throw briefcase and mid-card titles and then world titles on the dude. We'll see the best of Priest during his reign, not at the end of it. But such is Damian Priest, though. I absolutely felt that was, you have to take that off of him. Let him grow and mature now without it. And I'm telling you, after last night, he's going to do just that. And on the flip side, this was just Gunther's time. It's clear they're building them to be such. This is Gunther's time. It's Gunther's title reign. He had an epic, long, I believe the longest IC title reign in history, I believe. So there's no reason for him not to drop that at WrestleMania. I know that's a long way or ways, right? You still got all of August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. About 8 or 9 months, better part of a year. 3/4 of a year, I understand, but there's no better than somebody like Gunther to do such. And then you have him drop the title at Mania. And at that point, what is it? Is it a young up-and-comer? Or do you have it be somebody like John Cena, end his career breaking Ric Flair's record, and the next night on Raw saying, thank you, I'm not here to take spots or anything. I needed to know I still had this. I didn't do this out of disrespect for the company or the business. I wanted to win this to go out as a champion. And he vacates that and he rides off into the sunset. His last match, he is a champion of the world. That's absolutely something that could happen, guys. And it's something that I would not at all rip apart if they choose to do such. John Cena. So I know a lot of people will be like, what? You just wasted Gunther's title reign on John Cena when he vacates it the next day. But guys, pro wrestling again is about those moments, those memories, those situations and circumstance that can last a lifetime and beyond. That's what pro wrestling is at its core. And that's a way bigger moment than giving it to some young up-and-comer. That's unfortunately, most of them don't actually end up being anything. So you did it. All of that was for nothing anyway. So for those totally against something like John Cena winning it and then vacating it, I don't know what to tell you. What's the other options? Sure, you could pick a bunch of individuals. Where does it go afterwards? And if you really want those individuals with the title, then once John Cena vacates that title, they have the opportunity immediately. But I'm just throwing you one option. But Gunther had to hold that title, had to get that title first of all, and now he's got to retain it all the way to Mania. No matter who's taking it from Gunther, it's got to be at Mania. He has to have that long title reign. And I know some of you guys don't like those long title reigns, but sometimes it has to happen. For Gunther, it's one of those times. So here we are the next morning, and Gunther is your champion. Damian loses it. And again, it's just that look on Damian's face, man. When Damian comes across Balor, amplified. It's going to be pretty badass. Then you had L.A. Knight. Yeah. L.A. Knight defeats Logan Paul, becomes new United States champion. It's a moment in a memory. It's something that we've all, most of us, and I can't say we all, most of us have been waiting way too long for, right? Last January, not this past, January of 2023, coming out of that Bray Wyatt feud, LA Knight was getting chants louder than some of the top stars. So it wasn't shocking that it didn't take but more than a month later, or a little less than a month later, when he was one of the top stars, or at least for fan reaction. WrestleMania came around last year, and LA Knight's name was being chanted louder than anybody else, and I think he was in some battle royal before WrestleMania. He wasn't even on the card. Not even on the card. Kept off of big Madison Square Garden SmackDown shows, looking like a fool in Money in the Bank, not coming out with that briefcase when he was the clear favorite. Instead, Damian walked out with it. Then there was that weird United States tournament, and it ended up being like Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. LA Knight had nothing to do with it. He was eliminated in like a fatal four, something like that. Nobody knew what was going on. Why is this dude not winning anything? It took us a year and a half, but he finally got a mid-card title. Listen, again, beggars can't be choosers. At least Hunter Hearst Helmsley did it. And afterwards, when he came through, he did the whole point at LA Knight with the title. So he finally got acknowledged from Hunter Hearst Helmsley as a champion, a top star. So that was just, even though it was way too overdue and late, it was still a moment that happened. I liken this to like Zack Ryder. I think it was like WrestleMania. I guess it was Money in the Bank, because I remember it was like a ladder match, because he was on the top of a ladder and he was holding up the IC title. And I just remember like a lot of people are like, damn, that's long over. Like Zack Ryder's pretty good. Like he's finally getting that moment. But he got it at least, right? You could say, oh, it should have been here. It should have been there. It should have been a long time ago. It should have been when this was happening. But he has this moment, WrestleMania, top of a ladder, IC title, Zack Ryder has arrived. I liken it to kind of like that, LA Knight's hoisting that title, and I thought back to Zack Ryder. Just one of those moments. You could say long overdue, but at least it happened. Now it's about what do you do with LA Knight. Now you have to carry that momentum. He still should be looked at as a top star. You can be such with a mid-card title, right? Stone Cold Steve Austin showed you that. A lot of people don't remember that. When Stone Cold was reaching the height of his career, he was first an IC champion. Defeated Owen Hart. That was rough, by the way. You guys remember that's when he hurt his neck and he had to somehow roll up Owen, but he had no strength. So Owen just had to kind of fall and lay there. It was very sad. But Stone Cold was adamant that he wanted to finish that match. But that was an IC title, man. He started really coming to that top spot with the IC title. Razor Ramon was always a top star, and he was known for holding the IC title. I don't even think Razor Ramon held the world title, guys. I'll have to go back and do some research. I don't think he ever, to my recollection, I have no notes in front of me, no research was done, but I don't believe Razor Ramon ever held a world title, and he was always looked at as a top guy, as he should. But he was always kind of attached to that IC championship. So they could do something epic with LA Knight. They just have to put in the time, the effort, the care to LA Knight. So far, they've shown they don't really do that. Will it change with a championship? What we do know is SummerSlam last night. What a moment. What a memory. LA Knight hoisting that title up. Logan Paul, his rough week continues. Then there was, on the flip side of the IC United States Championship. United States, not IC, by the way. I think because I likened it to Zack Ryder winning the IC. Now I'm thinking LA Knight IC. United States Championship. So if I said LA Knight won the IC, my bad. On the flip side, the IC Championship also changed hands. This was like 6 minutes, if even. Braun Breaker destroyed. Not exactly the qualifications of a jobber match, because again, it was just under 6 minutes, but Braun Breaker, just outside of a jobber match, absolutely destroyed Sami Zayn, hoisted up that title. The booking decision to have Braun Breaker win the title, that I have zero issue with. It's still, you guessed it, the theme of this upload, a memory and a moment. Braun Breaker has arrived, and earlier than most expected. Braun Breaker is a dude that, this is long overdue too. He was kept in NXT for a whole nother year. So obviously they saw a lot of developmental issues. So they kept him there. And they had him on a losing streak. Then they had him in a weird tag team with Baron Corbin. It was kind of like, are they a face? Are they a heel? It was a rough last year for Braun Breaker in NXT. Very rough. So the only way you could salvage him is to give him the dynamic, almost Goldberg treatment when he got to the main roster. I don't think many of us expected H to actually do that. Hunter Hearst Helmsley actually did that, and that's how he's booked Braun Breaker, and that's why Money in the Bank was such a weird booking decision. Sami Zayn, clean over Braun Breaker. Breaker looking up at the lights, but Hunter did not book Breaker to lose like that in the weeks leading up. It was huge for Sammy, right? It cements his title reign. But for Braun, it didn't make sense for the type of booking that Hunter was delivering. So here, I think it was overcompensation, right? It's almost like, yeah, okay, that was a little rough. Maybe Braun's stock went down a little bit. And you could see that in the weeks after Money in the Bank. Just listen to the crowd response. It definitely went down, and the booking couldn't match it either. So I think this was overcompensation. We're going to do this much quicker. Sammy's just going to get annihilated, and Braun's going to hit that massive spear and hoist up that title. That's the paycheck. So yeah, that should have been done a lot better, but they were trying to rectify the mistake from last month. No problem Sammy holding it, but that was a little too clean for Braun Breaker. And then it was just to have Sammy lose like that in under 6 minutes. And my right-hand man on the channel live last night, JR9 Gaming, had a great point. He said, Sami Zayn was the one that ended Gunther's historic IC title reign. Gunther, nobody could beat this dude. Sami Zayn in a war came out the champion. And he couldn't do anything to Braun Breaker in 6 minutes. Lost that championship that clean. So is this WWE telling us that Braun Breaker is even more of a threat than Gunther was? More of somebody to look at and go, oh, he's going to be the dude. Maybe. But still, whether it was done absolutely correctly or not, Braun Breaker already is holding gold IC title. They didn't want to do it at Money in the Bank. They wanted to do it the second biggest event of the year, SummerSlam, and boy, did they do that. And that wasn't it. Gunther, new champion. LA Knight, new champion. Braun Breaker, new champion. Nia Jax became new women's champion. Now, if you caught the live stream, this was the controversial part of the stream, right? Nia Jax defeats Bayley for that championship. That wasn't the big issue. If that's what Hunter Hearst Helmsley wants to do, that's fine, right? Maybe he wants to have another massive rematch with Bayley. Maybe he wants to cause the rift in the future with Tiffany Stratton in that briefcase and Queen Nia Jax and her championship, right? Or maybe he wants to do something Tiffany and Nia. Maybe it's what we're all thinking, right? Charlotte Flair, Charlie's return is imminent. So maybe this is all just to get that on a massive heel like Nia, just to have Charlie come back, save the day, and win the championship. That's Hunter's booking. All right, that's his prerogative. We'll go along for the ride as long as it's fun, intriguing, and captivating us more than anything. Nia winning is not the issue. Nia actually had a decent match last night. No, the reason we had to put that where we put it in the board last night, the good, the bad, and the ugly board, the reason is the booking just wasn't up to standard. That's not how you end Bayley's title reign. What'd she win at WrestleMania? It was over 100 days of a title reign, so she's getting right into the bare bones of the title reign, right? You can't do her dirty and drop the title yet, I feel. Bayley should be holding that much more further. Maybe Bad Blood, October-ish. That's a good time. Not all the way to WrestleMania. You got to put that on a heel by basically October. Let that heel hold it to about Mania, and that's when the big face wins it. That sounds about right, and Bayley has a nice, lengthy, memorable title reign, right? But instead, they had Bayley lose last night, and it wasn't even any big distraction. Tiffany came down, and Tiffany just got knocked out by Bayley. That was it, guys. If you didn't see the show, and you weren't with BC catching it, or even listening to BC's live stream last night during SummerSlam, that's what we were talking about, because that's what happened. Tiffany came down, got knocked out, and that was it. And all of a sudden, Nia Jax got amplified. She hulked up, and she started destroying Bayley. And Bayley ultimately loses. Banzai squash, Yokozuna style. It's like, if you're going to have Bayley lose the title, and you have this supposedly diabolical heel Nia, and there's a reason, right? Her right-hand woman right there, Tiffany Stratton. There's so many ways you could have had Bayley screwed out of this match and subsequently her championship. Instead, you just had Tiffany come. Bayley took care of her like that. Done. And even if Nia got the upper hand for that small distraction, you would think that Bayley could come back, right? It's no different than Nia just having the upper hand in the match. It's not like Tiffany knocked out Bayley and then Nia capitalized. These are small details, guys, that are not very minor at all. They have to be thought about in all these meetings before you actually go out there and do the deed. Bayley lost pretty much clean last night. That's what that was. Tiffany was not involved. Bayley lost that clean, and that's not the position you should be in when you're taking on a heel like Nia, who has backup like Tiffany. There's so many ways you could have screwed Bayley, and that's what you went with the most. It's the most unamplified way, and that's what I mean. That's my big critique with Hunter with all this, is a lot of these turns, a lot of these distraction finishes, there's no emphasis behind it. There's no certainty behind it. There's no amplification behind it. They're just so subtle to the point of just not feeling right. Trust me, sometimes less is more. Sometimes subtle is more than just full throttle. But not in these cases. Not in these cases, man. You want to know, whoa, they just did the turn. Or you want to know, whoa, she was just screwed out of that. She wasn't. Bayley just got squashed by Nia. That was Bayley's title reign. You can't tell me that's what you had planned when Bayley won that championship at Mania. That in a few months, in just a couple of months, Nia will squash her clean, basically. So again, I guess they're going to set something. And is that really exciting, fans? Tiffany Stratton, who I love, by the way. I think she is already phenomenal. Just imagine if she does not go full Hollywood, because she did sign with Paradigm, the agency. That's going to take her to Hollywood soon. But if she does stick around for even a few years, just 1 year from now, just imagine how good Tiffany is going to be if she's already this good. So I speak volumes. I think the world of Tiffany Stratton. But is that really the big money match that people are going to whip their wallet out and say, which credit card do you want? Charge me twice? No. Tiffany Stratton, Nia Jax. I really do believe this is all for Charlie Flair to come back, probably this Friday, and help Bayley, right? Because Tiffany and Nia, the numbers game, and here comes the savior Charlie. I wouldn't doubt it. And if that's the case, are you guys really okay with Bayley dropping the title just to get this back to Charlie Flair? Because we've been playing that game for nearly 10 years now. It hasn't really worked out for anybody. other than patenting the stats of Charlie. Maybe she's the one to break her father's record. Even though it's not along the same lines. Totally different title. Totally different lineage. But Nia Jax won the title. And whether we like it or not, again, I was not a big fan of the creative behind it. Not Nia winning it. Nia did fine last night. But I was not a fan at all of that creative. That was the big, and probably the only big botch of the night. But still a big memory in a moment, because you're going to remember that Bayley dropped that title and Nia hoisted it up with Tiffany squabbling back to the ring with that briefcase that she loves so much. The Barbie-themed, Tiffany Stratton-esque briefcase. 4 major title changes in one event. I can't remember a pay-per-view where that happened. I don't know if you guys can recall. 4 titles on a card that only had like 7 matches to begin with. 4 of those 7 matches all resulted in title changes. Absolutely massive. And then we weren't even done. So we talked Jellyroll's massive appearance. We talked 2 incredibly just whoa turns. Damian screwed over by Balor. Rhea screwed over by Dominic. And then we talked 4 title changes. That wasn't even it. The main event saw the return of the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Easily? It's early. I haven't had enough coffee. Easily the face of the company, right? I think we could say after that reaction last night, I think Cody did get bumped to a 2. Roman Reigns returned last night. And what I liked about this, and I gave so much praise to Hunter Hearst Helmsley last night, because something like this should be worked out near flawlessly, guys, near flawlessly. And I know that's hard to do. But this is where Hunter has to just no sleep then, 24/7. You just have to really come up. How can we do a correct finish here that's near perfection? And the way that it was done, loved it. At the end of this match, Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga, they hit the ring, Gorillas of Destiny. So then KO and Randy return. Now, they've been gone for a few weeks because they got taken out by the Bloodline. So they kept them off, right? So this was a big little comeback for them. I won't say a full-fledged return. They weren't gone that long. So not a return, but it was a good comeback for KO and Randy. And then they had those 4 fight off into the crowd, off into the sunset. Cool. Or it's nighttime, moonset. So they're fighting off. Then you have Jacob Fatu hit the ring. So that leaves still the numbers game. Solo, Jacob Fatu, and Justa Cody. This was the perfect time to bring out Roman Reigns. All of it was done. And I was calling all this out. I was future booking it live. So I don't know how much you guys caught on the microphone. I thought I was kind of saying it to myself, but I was saying it so you guys probably picked up, but I was pretty much booking this whole thing as it was happening in real time. I was like, all right, now KO and Randy should be coming down. Okay, now you bring in Jacob Fatu. Okay, now Roman should be coming. I mean, it's simplistic, actually, if you think about it. But it's the right way to do it. And sure enough, the music hit. Now, I was live, like I said. I got playback of the actual event in my ear. I got playback of what you guys are hearing on this platform. And then I also have playback of myself, the microphone, and what I'm actually hearing for myself. So I have 3 different playbacks. So, but what it sounded like is that Roman had a different theme, or at least it was amped up. And this goes along the lines with his cousin, Rock, right? He kind of had a jazzed up theme. And then he had like that Hollywood theme where you knew that was the heel. So I think this is perfect for, if that is the case, maybe I was just hearing things. I don't know. I'll have to go back and check it out. But if that is the case and he had a more jazzed up, amped up version, then when he does go back heel, because he will one day, because that was just too good of a character. Roman Reigns as a heel, it fits. And we might find out sooner rather than later that he likes it better as a heel. But I think you'll get that theme back when and if he does go back. But Roman comes down and he spears Solo Sikoa, and you got to give props over to Solo. Solo took that like a champion. Even though he didn't win that title, nor should he have, he took that like a champion. Roman annihilated his cousin. And then he took off, and you could see there was that struggle in Roman's face to end the show. Like he's looking at Cody. Cody's pinning Solo, locking eyes on Roman. right? Because he knows that he's not done with Roman. Roman wants that championship, but it's that struggle with Roman. He's not done with Cody. He wants that title. That title. He told Cody, only a matter of time. That title is coming with him. He wants that title. But that struggle, that internal struggle of, all right, but you know what? This has to be taken care of first. Solo Sikoa. All the trash he's been talking, all of the thinking he's the tribal chief. Roman Reigns had to take care of that first. And then maybe you see. So you could see Cody and Roman tagging up to take the bloodline on for the rest of the year, really. This could lead up to War Games Survivor Series, which is in November. In which case you see like Roman and Cody's team versus this version of the bloodline. And that would be interesting. Does The Rock return at Survivor Series? Setting up, which is just a month and a half later, the WrestleMania. The road to WrestleMania. And don't forget, Rocky Maivia debuted many, many moons ago at a Survivor Series. I think it was 96, I want to say. Oof, I don't know, man. I'm going way back, decades, but I think it was 96 when Rocky Maivia debuted. It was actually at Survivor Series, and I believe that was Madison Square Garden. So Survivor Series holds a special place for The Rock. But that's what you could see. And then afterwards, maybe even after Mania, I think you're going to start to see Roman start going for that championship again. That was SummerSlam, man. And that's why I say, like, when it was all said and done, like, I'm sure there's a lot of fans that were like, it was all right. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what? Like, I don't know what more I mean, of course, we could book so much more, better. I'll even use that word. Of course we could, especially if you're going to play Monday morning quarterback, and really break it all down. Of course we would. But for what we got, man, that's nearly all you can ask for. There were so many moments and memories, so much you can take from this show. Like, if you're ever getting something fixed, you're in a shop, maybe you brought your car in, you're repairing a TV, who knows? And they have this event playing from the beginning. And you're going to be there for a few hours. That's not a bad way to spend a couple 2, 3, in this case 4 hours, right? If you have to be at this place and they got SummerSlam, I don't think you're going to be clawing to get out of the place. Because you're going to remember, there was a lot every match had something going on, right? Even if it's just the finish. And that's what wrestling is based on, man. All of those moments and memories. So I don't want to go and say it's the most epic show we've ever seen. Of course not. That's not what we're saying. But wow, man. Out of nowhere, that was a SummerSlam to remember. That was a PLE. I'm going to go old school. I still call them PPVs. That was a pay-per-view to remember. That's just a fact. We all have our own prerogative. We're all going to be like, oh, we really liked it. Oh, we didn't like it. We loved it. We hated it. That's your prerogative. That's the way you feel. But the fact is, that was a wild SummerSlam to remember because a lot happened that just changed the wrestling world going forward. So that's my little wrap up from last night's live stream, guys. And again, the way I started this upload is the way I'll end it. Thank you, honestly, to every single one of you guys, all of my subscribers that showed up and showed out amplified last night. You think BC, but when you go over 4 hours, nearly 5 hours on a live stream, when you have to entertain for nearly 5 hours, you guys make it so much easier because you're amplified. You're dropping that knowledge. You're right there when I got a question. You're rocking out in the chat. You're popping the yes or no in those polls because I go to you guys a lot in these good, the bad, and the uglies. And especially, man, a special shout out to my channel members. Man, you guys are rocking last night. I have to do a members-only chat live stream soon. Hopefully this week, maybe even tomorrow. But for my channel members, a whole nother level of respect and appreciation to you guys. You know that. To the super chats last night, the banger bombs, man. That, if you're wondering how I'm amplified 5 hours later, how does BC do it? Is it just the coffee? Is it just the Clearly Canadians? It's also you guys giving that energy right back. So thank you. That was one of the most incredible live streams I could have done. I've been doing this for years now, and that was one of the best, most fun live streams we've ever done. And thankfully, it was an event that was actually newsworthy. A SummerSlam to remember is what I'm calling it. Guys, until next time, and there will be that next time, top guys, where I'll be seeing the Amplified unit saying check you.